Oh, I'm live. Hello, I thought I'd jump on to say hi. I have not done a video, and if you hop on, please say hi. I am from Beeville, Texas. Where are you, ladies and gentlemen, from? And yes, I do have a shop, and that is my shop behind me, but this is not about my shop. This is about stimulus updates and Texas news. I'm from Beeville, Texas. Where are you from? First, let me introduce y'all. My name is Tambourine K, and I did not know I was live until I seen that live button. So if you're watching and you see that live button, that means that you are on with me. And hi. And if you are on and you don't see that live button, that means that you are watching the replay. So let me put on my glasses because I'm going to read directly from this news up there. I have two devices because I cannot, I do not want to read false interpretation. But the first one I'm going to read is saying, I'm from Texas, but I'm also going to read what Greg Abbott is trying to push the conservative agenda in Texas too far. What do y'all think? So let's see what it says. It says, I love Texas, and when talking out of state friends, defend Texas as much as I can, but lately I have been getting comments about Governor Greg Abbott that poses questions, such as Abbott trying to make Texas too conservative. Is he pushing Texas to the extreme right? What do y'all think? Yes, I don't know. Yesterday, I saw an article in the New York Times with the headline in Texas, top two Republicans steer ship of state hard to the right, arguing that Governor Abbott, in conjunction with Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, are full stream ahead in pushing an uncompromising conservative agenda. Some Republican senators agree. The lieutenant governor reads all of the playbook of the far right, and that's where we go. The governor, less so, but not much less so. State Senator Kel, I cannot pronounce that name, Selger, Republican from Amarillo. Is it true? Is Abbott pushing the conservative agenda in Texas too far? What is y'all thoughts on this? That's interesting. Is he following in Trump's footsteps? Some believe he is, and some believe he isn't. That's interesting. It seems that since former President Donald Trump left office, that Abbott has become even more conservative. Is he trying to fill the void left by Trump and appeal to his fan base looking for a new leader? As we know, what do y'all think? Is he? As we know, Abbott is running for a third term as Texas governor in 2022. And for the first time is facing a real opposition from within his own party. Former Congressman and chairman of the Texas Republican Party, Allen West, and former state senator Don Huffness are both outspoken critics of Abbott. Will these moves appease the far right and conservative Texans and sway them away from West and Huffness? It seems that could be the strategy. What do y'all think? What's y'all's opinion? Everybody's right to an opinion. These are issues that grassroots and Republican Party have been working on filling bills on for 10 years. Abbott didn't care until he got opponents for the Republican primary, Jonathan Strickland, a conservative Republican. Abbott didn't care until he got an opponent in the Republican primary. That's a very telling piece of criticism that Strickland effectively accusing Abbott of putting his goal of election ahead of what he may be for the state of Texas. Mm-hmm. The push for a more conservative agenda. A quick look at the reforms of that Abbott is making shows the push to an even more conservative Texas. In May, Abbott signed into law of the United States' most restrictive abortion measures. It bans abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy, a push to drop most handgun licensing requirements, a move that Abbott himself called the strongest Second Amendment legislation in Texas history. A critical race theory bill prescribing how teachers discuss current events and prohibit students from receiving credit for participating in civic activities, restricting transition related medical care for transgender children, and of course the current major issue being proposed at that special session around voting measures. It all adds to a push to a more conservative leading state. But is it all Abbott's doing? What do y'all think? How interesting. According to the former Speaker of Texas House, Joe Straus, it may be Patrick pushing the agenda. The lieutenant governor is riding very high in the state senate, and he has regular appearances on Fox, and I think he is running pretty freely right now. He is very influential in setting the agenda at the moment. In an article in The Guardian, the reporter accused of Abbott filling out a bingo card of the right wing policy desires. Most of those bingo squares are unpopular with Texans. We're really seeing a race of who can throw Texans under the bus in the fastest and most cruel ways, simply to score political points and to remain in power. Juan, I cannot pronounce that name, and I don't want to say his name wrong. The communications director for Workers' Defense Action Fund. Okay, now here's this one. Well, Abbott move backfire and turn Texas blue. There has been a shift over recent years. Texas has led some to believe the state may turn blue in the near future. What do y'all think? As a result, Abbott's strategy of appealing strictly to conservative could backfire. But Abbott does have a big war chest of funds, over $55 million, and a higher approval rating in Texas than Senator Ted Cruz, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, or any potential governor challenger. I don't think of him in any terms of moderate or conservative. I just see him as someone who you can expect to adopt, or the consciousness, worldview, or the dominant or worldview of the Republican Party at any given time. Jason Lee, strategist for Texas Right to Vote. Juan certainly believes that Abbott is playing the political game, saying it was political theater to build up to 2022. See who can run the farthest to the right. Readers, what do you think? Or listeners, what do y'all think? Do you agree with Abbott's conservatives' agenda? Or do you believe it's just a political move aimed at the winning election, 2022 election? What do y'all think, YouTubers? That's a very interesting topic. Okay, now let's go here. Okay, here's something. This is close by where I live in Corpus, or in the Nueces County. That's up there by Corpus. I live in Beeville, so this is in Nueces County. Okay, so this says how the test result process is different for the COVID-19 and the Delta variant. If you get a COVID test right now, all you're going to get back is a negative.
There are a few things that make COVID-19 and the Delta variant different. For one,
okay, here, let me let y'all listen to this.
But also, testing for the variant is a much longer process.
This is our news.
Ashley Gonzalez caught up with the health district, breaks down that process, and shares why the lag could be weeks.
Testing for the Delta variant is different than testing for just COVID-19. For example, if you get a COVID test right now, all you're going to get back is a negative or positive result. But to see if you have the variant, way more steps are needed, and that process could take weeks.
All of the positive cases, they all get reported to us here at the health district. And then what we do is we do contact tracing for those positive cases. And then if we have a person of interest or a case of interest, then we'll ask them to come in.
Once that person comes in, they take another test.
We get it, and then we have to pack it, and we send it off.
Sent to one of two locations.
To DSHS, which is in Austin, or we send it to Texas Tech, the lab there. Those are the only two labs in Texas that we can send it to.
The health district sends the samples to the lab through overnight shipping. But the part that takes the longest is actually getting the samples tested, because there are other samples to test from all over the state.
If there's only two labs that are available to do this testing, and we have more and more cases that need to be sequenced, then there is going to be a backlog.
Once the sample is finally looked at, the Delta variant isn't the only strain being looked for.
Lambda is starting to come up as a variant of concern. So, the different strains that are out of the UK, the one that we had, that first started in Washington.
Once the testing is complete, the health district gets the results instantly. But this process could take even longer, with more and more samples being sent to these labs.
With our cases rising and our hospitalizations rising, that we need to know if this is because it's the Delta variant.
She says she hopes the county will be able to test for this new variant. But until then, samples will continue to be sent to labs in Austin or Lubbock. Asha Gonzalez, 3 News.
Okay. I did not know that was going to pop on. Okay, let's see what else we can find. Or okay, I'm trying to find something about the stimulus, but I don't know anything about the stimulus. Could Delta variant prompt Congress to extend unemployment benefits? Okay, let's read that. Okay, let's hear what Biden says. Hopefully he comes on to talk.
Trans women lead with their sex appeal.
Excuse the ass. Let me see.
As people, it is so important to allow people to.
Okay, here's Biden.
We're going to make it clear that anyone collecting unemployment who is offered a suitable job must take the job or lose their unemployment benefits. There are a few COVID-19 related exceptions, so that people aren't forced to choose between their basic safety and a paycheck. But otherwise, that's the law. I know there's been a lot of discussion since Friday's report, that people are being paid to stay home rather than go to work. Well, we don't see much evidence of that. I think the people who claim Americans won't work, even if they find a good and fair opportunity, underestimate the American people. So we'll insist that the law is followed with respect to benefits, or we're not going to turn our backs on our fellow Americans. 22 million people lost their jobs in this pandemic through no fault of their own. They lost their jobs to a virus and to a government that bungled its response to the crisis and failed to protect them. We still have 8 million fewer jobs than we did when the pandemic started. And for many of those folks, unemployment benefits are a lifeline. No one should be allowed to game the system, and we'll insist the law is followed, but let's not take our eye off the ball. Families who are just trying to put food on the table, keep a roof over their head, they aren't the problem. We need to stay focused on the real problems in front of us, beating this pandemic and creating jobs. American Rescue Plan is just that, a rescue plan. It's to get us out of the crisis and back on the track, but it's not nearly enough. That's why we need the American Jobs Plan, which is an 8-year investment, an 8-year investment strategy to make sure working people of this country get to share in the benefits of a rising economy, and to put us in a position to win the competition with China and the rest of the world for the 21st century. That's the next stage. That's what we're doing right now. We're working to get that passed.
Okay, what's y'all's opinions about what President Biden just said? Now that's an interesting topic to discuss as well. Okay, let me see. And this happened 6 hours ago. This is Dr. Anthony Fauci. I cannot pronounce his name. Now he has this to say. Let me see. And I lost him. Where did he go? Let me see. I hope I can find him. Well, I just lost him. Well, let me go to this. Okay. Well, I'll go here. Trouble. I just had him up, but I lost him. So I will go here. Troubling trend COVID-19. Numbers rising in all 50 states. Okay. Troubling new COVID-19 numbers are coming out across the country. At Houston Methodist, the hospital reported seeing an alarming spike of the number of cases. It pointed to steep increase over the weekend. Cases at rising in all 50 states for the first time since January. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention said unvaccinated Americans account for most of the increase. Houston Methodist said about 90% of the hospitalized with COVID-19 are not vaccinated. Houston Methodist CEO Mark Boone said 85 patients have Delta variant, but the hospital also recently identified the first case of how interesting, a new variant, Lambda variant, which is the dominant strain in Peru. How very interesting. Now we have a new strain. Now, this is getting outrageous, which is the dominant strain in Peru. This is very crazy. Boone said the changes they've seen over the past week have been dramatic, but unlike surges last summer, the winter, this rise, this rise impacting a specific population, those who haven't been vaccinated. I'm going to let y'all listen to this.
Our other top story, troubling new COVID-19.
Wait, hold on. What happened? Oh, I'm sorry. I have to discard this, but I'm going to do that. Okay. Hopefully it don't take us to the ad. If it does, I will.
Our other top story, troubling new.
Uh-oh. I did not know. I'm sorry. Let's discard that and go here.
Our other top story, troubling new COVID-19 numbers from Houston Methodist.
Yeah, the hospital says it has seen an alarming spike in the number of COVID-19 cases across the Houston area, with a steep increase just over the weekend. In fact, cases are on the rise in all 50 states for the first time since January. And the CDC says unvaccinated Americans account for most of the increase.
Let's get straight out to Stephanie Whitfield live at Houston Methodist.
Stephanie, are most of the cases at Houston Methodist also the unvaccinated?
Yeah, about 90% of people hospitalized right now have not been vaccinated. And now Houston Methodist has also identified the first case of the Lambda variant, which is already the dominant strain in Peru.
Houston Methodist is seeing the sharpest increase in COVID-19 patients since last summer. Hospital CEO Dr. Mark Boom says 85% are infected with the Delta variant.
But really, over the last 7 days, we've seen things change dramatically.
But unlike surges last summer and winter, the rise right now is impacting a specific population, people who have not been vaccinated. Dr. Maria Rivera with Harris County Public Health says that's true with mild cases too.
We're seeing a lot of young people getting infected, so people that are less than 40. And we also know that those are the people that have the lowest rates of vaccination.
At Houston Methodist, 10% of people hospitalized with COVID-19 are vaccinated. But most breakthrough cases are patients with weakened immune systems from cancer or organ transplants. Dr. Boom says 90% of severe cases are people who didn't get the vaccine.
We're watching every day as 30 people are getting admitted, knowing that sadly over time, 2 or 3 of those individuals may pass away on average, which is all avoidable.
According to the Texas Medical Center's online dashboard, about 9% of ICU patients have COVID-19. And I know doctors are watching that number closely as numbers continue to rise. Reporting live in the Medical Center, Stephanie Whitfield, KHOU 11 News.
So what is y'all's thoughts of that? Isn't that interesting? We have a new COVID name. That is very interesting. I'm trying to find a stimulus news and up popped that. Isn't that something? That is crazy. That is very, very strange. Okay. Let me see what Biden's rocky start is up to. Okay, let's see. I wonder if there is something that he could. Nope, that's not stimulus news. I'm trying to find a stimulus news. Here's something. This was 22 hours ago. I do not know if y'all listened to that one, but we will see what he has to say. Mitch McConnell. This is something. I do not know if this is anything about. Okay, this says McConnell on 1.2 trillion plan. Need to see the bill before we decide to vote. Now that does make sense. Because how can you vote on something that you don't know what's in it? Okay, it says Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell said Monday that he doesn't believe lawmakers should have to decide whether they will vote in favor of a bipartisan 1.2 trillion infrastructure bill package before the bill text is even finalized. Well, that does make sense because you do want to see what's in the bill before you vote on it, right? What do y'all think? Would y'all vote on something that y'all don't know what's in the bill? Okay. I think we need to see the bill before we decide whether to vote for it, the Kentucky Republican told the reporters. I think that's pretty easily understood. His comment sums as Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democratic, New York, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat, New York, is slated to file on the $1.2 trillion infrastructure package, which would tee up a procedural vote on the unfinished legislation for Wednesday, which is tomorrow. Schumer's decision to ramp up the pressure on the negotiators to finalize the package has sparked up the backlash from the GOP lawmakers, who argue they should not have to abide by arbitrary deadlines. How interesting. I guess they're being sneaky about what they're putting in the bill. We shouldn't have an arbitrary deadline of Wednesday, Senator Rob Portman, Republican, Ohio, said on CNN's State of the Union on Sunday. We should bring the legislation forward when it's ready. And Senator Susan Collins, Republican out of Maine, cast doubt on their ability to have the bill text by Wednesday. Okay. Their ability to have the bill text by Wednesday, telling reporters there is no way they complete the bill by midweek. Schumer's push for a vote this week comes as he attempts to garner the consciousness which his caucus on a $3.5 trillion budget, which will allow Democrats to pass a sweeping companion bill using the reconciliation process. I cannot pronounce that word. Negotiations on a bipartisan package being led by Senator Kyrsten Sinema, Democrat out of Arizona, and Portman are slated to continue on Monday evening as they continue to attempt to finalize the details, so we will know nothing until tomorrow. The bipartisan bill is expected to provide $579 billion in the spending, with $300 billion slated to go towards transportation and additional $250 billion, which would go toward broadband, power, and water infrastructure. But as the scheduled vote inches closer, a lack of consciousness over pay-fors remains for the group opting to discard plans to offset the significant portions of the cost by strengthening the IRS enforcement. GOP critics of the provisions have raised concerns over the expanding the IRS powers. In the terms IRS reform, or the IRS tax gap, which is what is in the original proposal, that will no longer be in our proposal. It will be in the larger reconciliation bill, we're told, and that's the two tracks here, Portman said on CNN Sunday. Portman noted that the Republican lawmakers have received pushback on the provision, which factored into the decision not to back the language. Well, one reason it's not part of the proposal is that we did have pushback, he continued. Another reason is that we found out that the Democrats are going to put a proposal into the reconciliation package, which was not just similar to the one we had, but with a lot more IRS enforcement. So I don't know nothing much about the stimulus package until tomorrow. So let's find out what happens about the stimulus, about that. So we won't know nothing about that bill. That's interesting. Okay, so let me see if I see any other interesting news. Okay, let me see. Okay, no, that was yesterday. Y'all probably heard that. I don't want to repeat news that y'all probably have heard. Okay. Let me see. I don't want to be a repeater of things that y'all probably heard already. A fourth wave of COVID-19 is brewing in the U.S. Is there enough time to stop it? It's probably the one I just mentioned. I hope that there's time to stop it. This is just getting outrageously crazy. Our world is just getting crazy, crazy, crazy. With every passing day, the United States appears more likely to be on the cusp of dreaded fourth wave of COVID-19 infections, even as the percentage of a fully vaccinated Americans inches towards 50% in the past 2 weeks of the number average new daily cases has even doubled from 13,200 on July 4th to more than 32,300 on July 18th, a surge that harbors grim reminders of the fronts of the second and third waves in the summer and fall of 2020. But on the closer inspection of the surge looks significantly different than those we have seen in the past and may very well be worse than it looks on the page. The coronavirus pandemic has never even, in its worst heights last winter, struck the U.S. uniformly. Instead, it has wandered from eruptions in specific urban areas to suburban and rural countries, and even back again like a persistent hurricane. Now, as a gap between states' completed vaccination rates widens, Alabama has vaccinated 33.7% of residents, compared to nearly 70% in Vermont. The per capita rate of new cases has clustered in a handful of regions where a majority of adults remain unvaccinated, even as reopening continues apace. Here's a country of level of the map of a 14-day growth, a case of 100,000 residents by day. I don't see a map up there. To draw on my amateur oceanography, the current crest resembles less a wave than a riptide, with surges of current inundating several hotspots, while the remainder of the country remains blissfully unaware or unwilling to admit the pandemic is not remotely over. The upshot is that local data, rather than state or nationwide level figures, now paint the most accurate picture of the current state of the outbreak. Statewide cases don't tell the entire state. We need a finer tooth comb, said Jennifer Nuzzo, the lead epidemiologist for the Johns Hopkins University Testing Insights Initiative. As Nuzzo notes, the most recent documented outbreaks are more concentrated in rural areas than those of the worst spikes over the past 16 months. Though the viruses didn't spare any corner of the country, what appears to be different now, even within more rural regions, a blossoming of outbreaks that are at the moment highly clustered, particularly along the border between Arkansas and Missouri, as well as northeast northeast Florida and southeast Georgia. But any such observation comes with the same caveat that we on the numbers beat have been striving communicate since the beginning. The number of cases is contingent on the number of people being tested for the virus. A figure that can underestimate the true picture, not to exaggerate it. Let's recall a year ago, COVID-19 skeptics, including then Vice President Mike Pence, were attributing a spike in cases. At the time, an increase in testing, a claim that was easily debunked. Now we face the opposite question. As the number of weekly tests has plummeted, taking back a seat to vaccination, and with the sense of urgency abating for now, is the situation in fact worse than it appears? I don't worry that we are missing the severe cases, including when a patient is hospitalized, Nuzzo say. It's everybody else I worry about. We have turned our telescope to a different part of the sky. Murray Cote, an associate professional of health policy and management at Texas A&M University, agrees. I still think we're missing a chunk of positive cases, he says. It's a confluence of things. We don't have the testing facilities we used to have earlier in the pandemic. That chunk, both Coyote and Nuzzo, or however you say it's likely made up of people who are experiencing mild or no symptoms, but can still be a part of a transmission chain. I last spoke with Coyote in June 2020 when unwinding Pence's claim that summer surge was a product of more testing. Our conversation this time felt both reserved, as we were discussing a possible undercalculation of reality, as well as strangely familiar, because a year ago we were seeing a new surge amid widespread relaxation of safety measures, not unlike the freedom from safety measures like maskless dining we currently enjoy. We're behaving exactly the same way as we did last year, Coyote says, to refresh your memory around this time in 2020. The U.S. had a brief moment where cases began to drop. Some Americans started to ease their social distancing and mask wearing, and it led to both the summer surge and, after lull, the massive winter spike, and turned out to be the worst stretch of the global outbreak to hit any country in the world. What's the difference now? That this time we have highly effective vaccines, but while calculation could protect individuals, vaccination rates in many communities across the U.S. remain too low to prevent refresh outbreaks. In the head of days of spring 2021, many states began reducing the frequency of their reports on new cases to every days or once a week. That was a foolish mistake when even a massive reduction in testing, the 7-day rolling average of new cases never dipped below 10,000. The national level, given that the best case scenario, even before the emergence of the Delta variant, was a reduction of cases and death in the endemic levels for years to come. States must pair their desperate attempts to vaccinate more individuals with renewed focus surveillance and contact tracing. For now, the best way to prevent the current spikes from becoming a proper fourth wave is vaccination, which, even if cases continue to rise, can help prevent hospitalization and deaths, increase surveillance, and in return mitigation measures. Indeed, Los Angeles County on Sunday reinstituted mandatory mask wearing in businesses and public areas, a major rollback after the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said on May 13th that fully vaccinated individuals could shed their mask in many scenarios. The state can rapidly revive widespread and easily available testing. LA will be far from the last county to ask residents to mask up once again. And let me see if that's all I have for y'all. Sorry about my Bella barking. She hears something and she has to go haywire. She's half German Shepherd. I have another YouTube channel this is my business back there. I sell paparazzi. And she's also on that channel. It's under Tambourine Compost, not Tambourine. It's under Tambourine K Compost, not Tambourine Compost, but this is my news channel. So if you like, can you please hit that like button, hit that notification bell, and also hit that subscribe button down below so you know when I go live or upload a video. And I thank you for watching. And on my other channel, she has her bark box and I have my business. And thank you very much for watching. Y'all stay blessed, stay healthy, and most of all, stay safe. And remember, God loves each and one of y'all, and God bless you all. Thank y'all, and y'all are wonderful. And thank you for watching. Bye-bye, y'all.